Okay, so we're back. It's been a while since I made these Civ Pro videos, but that is because contracts final was looming, and so I put all of my time into that. But I do want to finish these out, and so we're gonna pick up where we left off. And last time we talked about international shoe. And international shoe, not to get too deep into it because I don't quite remember what I said in that video, but the big takeaway was that it established minimum contacts rule, and we learn it through Goggin as sufficient minimum contacts to be a little bit more accurate. Um, and that was a huge case because it overruled Pennoyer and is still the law today when trying to exercise specific personal jurisdiction. And so before we get into verdict, internet-based conduct, and purposeful availment, this is the bigger one we're going to get into. We're going to take a slight detour into a case called McGee versus International Life Insurance Company. In this case, we're going to do to kind of illustrate international shoe in action. Okay. This right here is this one's not a rule, nor is it a standard. So don't confuse this substantial connection thing as like some separate standard to apply to fact patterns and whatnot. Not a standard. Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm slightly bald now. And that was a decision I low-key a little regret. So here we are, but my hair grows back quickly. So the facts of this case, 1957, and Lowell Franklin, we'll just call him Franklin, back when he bought life insurance a while back from a company called Empire Mutual. And later on, Empire Mutual was bought out by International Life Insurance Company. And I'll just call them International Life. But they were based in Texas. And Franklin was, I don't think Franklin was from California or he lived in California. I think he was actually somewhere else. I think he was in DC or something. I didn't write it down. And I suppose it might be helpful to know particularly where he actually resided to kind of add wrinkles and play with the facts. But I actually don't think he lived in California. Maybe he did. Anywho, Franklin, after Empire Mutual was bought out by International Life, Franklin agreed to stay with the company. And a key fact here was that International Life sent a letter to confirm, like, do you want to stay with us? Sure. And Franklin agreed and continued to pay into his life insurance as well from wherever he was. Franklin did have a beneficiary on it, and it was his mother. And his mother, who we will refer to as McGee, Franklin died one day, and McGee wanted payout naturally. International Life refused, and McGee sent service by mail while she was in California because she lived in California for sure. California statute at the time says that they have to be in California to face claims. That's what I wrote down. And then she went out to Texas and filed a complaint there. But a Texas court said that violated their due process protection. And so the question here was, can specific personal jurisdiction be established on a company who has minimal contacts in another state? And minimal in the sense of they only really have one contact there because it's not like they sold to people in California. They did most of their business elsewhere. And so Franklin and McGee were the only policy they had in California. And so if we look at, if we look at shoe, it was a little bit more clear if we're applying, retroactively the shoe standard onto shoe, that they had very clear minimum context. They had got the protection of Washington state laws. They had done business there. They it was more than one thing, one contact. And here we only have one contact, like literally one contact. And the court at the end of it said, well, actually, yes. Yes, for a number of things. Yes, because there's a substantial connection to the state. In that substantial connection being that they purposely availed themselves to California. When they were bought out, they reached out to Franklin and said, well, I know you're like the only California one. Do you want to keep paying into it? And they agreed, and they continued to take his money. Um, you know, not only that, but there was also a policy argument of getting with the times, when conduct is growing more and more um, frequent over mail and across states. And so that was part of the policy argument to that. And so, yeah, I mean, if we wrinkle some of the facts a little bit, let's say, for instance, that they didn't send the letter and they didn't ask, and he died like right then when they were bought out, it'd be a different story. But because they kind of knew that they were soliciting money from Franklin, it becomes, within the realm of the Constitution to hail them into California. Okay. So yeah, this one, I don't really have much more to say about this, but to kind of solidify the application of an international shoe standard. So moving on to the next case, it's going to be Hansen versus Deckler, and we'll go from there.